Hello class, we're about to start Unit 2, Fractions, Part 1. It says Section A, Introduction to Fractions and Mixed Numbers. A fraction represents part of a whole. The numerator, the top number, tells us how many parts are selected, and the denominator, the bottom number, tells us how many parts in the whole object. For example, we have this object here. We notice that it is cut up into 5 different parts here. We have 3 shaded and 2 non-shaded. It says fraction of objects that is shaded. So then we would take the denominator would be the parts of the whole, which is 5 parts. So we would put that in the bottom. And then our numerator would be the shaded part, which is 3. So it'll be 3/5. Now the fraction of object that is unshaded, we still have 5 total parts, which would be our denominator. And then the 2 parts that are not shaded would be your numerator. Now, it says a mixed number combines a whole number and a fraction. A mixed number can also be written as an improper fraction, a fraction with numerator larger than the denominator. Write both a mixed number and an improper fraction that represents the picture below. Now, if you notice here, these pictures are cut into 4 different parts. So we would know, first of all, as a mixed number. First of all, you notice that all of this is shaded in, so that's one whole. We know that all of this is shaded in, this is another whole. Now we come here, this has a denominator of 4, but only 3 parts are shaded. So this is how we would do it. We would say 1 plus 1, we know is 2. And then we will write the fraction, which would be 3/4. So this is 2 3/4 written as a mixed number. Now, if we want to write this as an improper fraction, because we were asked to write it both as a mixed number and improper fraction, our denominator will remain 4, because all of these are cut into parts of 4. And then we will count how many parts are shaded. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So our numerator would be 11. So this is written as a mixed number. This is written as an improper fraction. Now, well, actually, I should put these addition signs here. So we would have 1 plus 1 gave us 2 plus 3/4 that we would carry over. Now it says, how could you change between these forms without using the pictures? So let's take the 2 3/4. With 2 3/4, if we want to change this from a mixed number to an improper fraction, the first thing we would do is carry over our denominator. So our denominator would still stay 4. Now to get the numerator, what we would do is we would take the whole number times the denominator. So we add 2 times 4, and we would add the numerator plus 3. And then we will follow the order of operations which we discussed earlier in Unit 1. So we know we would do multiplication first. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3, which would give us 11. And that will be our numerator. So we would have 11/4. Now, if we want to go from the improper fraction to the mixed number, this is what we would do. We would do regular division. We would take 4 into 11. Remember, when you're changing a fraction to division, the bottom number or denominator always goes out front and the numerator goes under the division bar. So we say 4 goes into 11 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. 11 minus 8 is 3. So we know we have a remainder of 3. So this is how we will write our final answer. This 2 here, or any number that's in front of the remainder, that will be your whole number. Your denominator is always the number you had divided by, which is 4. And your numerator is always the remainder. So let's recap that. The number in front of the remainder is your whole number. The number you divided by is your denominator. And your remainder is your numerator. And this is how you convert between the 2 forms. Now we scroll down here. It says examples. Change between mixed numbers and improper fractions. We have 8 2/3. Now again, remember, we carry over our denominator, which is 3. Now we have to find our numerator. So we'll do 8 times 3 plus 2. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 2 is 26. So we will have 26 over 3. Now we have 5 and 1 6. Again, we carry over that denominator. Now, to find the numerator, we'll take the whole number times the denominator plus the numerator. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 1 is 31. So 31 would be our numerator. Now we come here, same thing. We carry over our denominator, which is 7. Find our numerator, we'll take 3 times 7 plus 6. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 6 is 27. So now we come down here to the bottom 3. Now we have these improper fractions. We do a little division. So we'll say 5 into 23. 5 goes into 23 4 times. And then we will have a remainder of 3. So our whole number would be 4. Our denominator will remain the same, which is 5. And our numerator is the remainder. So it'd be 4 3/5. Now, we would take 10 into 79. 10 goes into 79 7 times. 7 times 10 is 70. 79 minus 70 is 9. So we have a remainder of 9. So now we'll write our final answer. The whole number is 7. Our denominator remains 10. And our numerator is the remainder. Now we go to the last problem. We would take 4 into 25. 4 goes into 25 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. 25 minus 24 is 1, so we have a remainder of 1. So now again, our whole number is 6. Our denominator stays the same at 4, and our numerator is our remainder. So this is our final answer. Now we move on to section B, reducing a fraction to simplest form. Two fractions can look different but have the same value. These are called equivalent fractions. Write the fraction for each picture. Now we look here. This first picture here is cut up into 6 parts. So if we write the shaded portion, our denominator would be 6 and our shaded portion is 3, which is 3 6. Now we come here. Now this right here is cut up into 2 parts. And we have 1, well, our denominator would be 2. And our shaded part would be 1, which would be 1/2. Now these are equivalent fractions, meaning that they equal each other. We know 3 6 is basically 1/2 because 3 out of 6 is 1/2. So these are equivalent fractions even though they look different. It says mathematically we know that we create an equivalent fraction whenever we multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number. This is because we are really multiplying or dividing by a form of the number 1, which doesn't change the value of the original fraction. Now listen, when it says here, whenever we multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number, this excludes 0. So at the end here, I want you to put except 0 to let you know you do not multiply your numerator and denominator by 0. So it's any other number except 0. Now, if you look here, if you take 1/2 and multiply by 3/3, which is a form of 1, we'll multiply the numerator times numerator, which will give us 3, and the denominator times the denominator. 2 times 3 is 6. So we'll have 3 6, and that is what we have here. Now, if we take the same 3 6 and divide it by 3/3, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we end up with the same amount even though they are the same fraction. Now it says when a fraction is written using the smallest possible numerator and denominator, we say the fraction is in simplest form or lowest terms. To reduce a fraction to its simplest form, first we find a number that divides evenly into both the numerator and denominator and divide. Hint, the process will go faster if you use the biggest number you can think of that works. Next, repeat this process until you can't find any more numbers that divide into both numerator and denominator evenly. Examples: reduce each fraction to simplest form. Now, one other thing I want to say here with this second bullet point is this here. It says repeat this process until you can't find any more numbers that divide into both numerator and denominator evenly. Now, one other thing, we have to remember that 1 can divide evenly into both of them, and it will not change the number. So let's take this here. We have 6 over 15. Now, 6 and 15 both has 3 in common. So let's do this. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Now, can you think of any other number besides 1 that would divide evenly into 2 and 5? No, you can't. So this is in simplest form. Now we come here to 40 and 70. If we look here at 40 and 70, both of them are even. So we know we could divide any even number by 2. And we know that since both of them end in 0, we could divide by 5. But also, we know that 10 will go into both of these evenly. So let's try 10. If you can, always try the largest number that you could think of that could go into both of them evenly. So we'll do 40 divided by 10, which is 4, and 70 divided by 10, which is 7. So our final answer is 4 over 7. Now we come here to 54 and 72. Now looking at this problem, I mean, it just depends. Some people cannot think of the larger numbers, which is fine. Since both of these are even, why don't we just do this? Because these are, nice size numbers, and I would just divide both of them by 2. 54 divided by 2 is 27. 72 divided by 2 is 36. Now we look here at 27 and 36. Now with these two numbers, we know that both can be divided by 3 evenly. 27 divided by 3 is 9, and 36 divided by 3 is 12. Now when we look here at 9 over 12, there's another number that we could divide evenly into 9/12, which is 3. So we could divide the numerator and denominator by 3. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. There's no other number that could divide evenly into 3 and 4 except 1. So that is the final answer. Now we come to 28 over 84. Now looking at these numbers here, I mean myself, I probably would start off with 2. Because since both of them are even, I'll just use 2 so I can make it a little smaller. 28 divided by 2 is 14. 84 divided by 2 is 42. Now since both of these are even, let's try 2 again. So we will have 7 over 21. Now we look here, 7 and 21, both of them have 7 in common. So I would divide both by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 divided by 7 is 3. And there's nothing else that could go in evenly into these two numbers, so it'll be 1/3. Now again, just to recap, even though it takes a little longer using the smaller numbers, you can use them if you cannot think of a larger number that could go into these two numbers of this fraction. You will still wind up with the same result. So now, let's scroll down to section C. It says multiplying fractions. You can multiply fractions straight across, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, and then reduce the answer. So let's do that. We had 8 times 3 is 24, and 9 times 4 is 36. Now, it says we can simplify this because we know 24 and 36 is even. So we could divide both by 2, and that would give us 12 over 18. And we know 12 and 18 both have 6 in common, and that would give us 2/3. So this simplifies out to 2/3. Now it says here, however, many people find it easier to reduce before multiplying.